The insurance industry is changing. The pace in which everyone is doing business is accelerating. My name is Pat West, and I'm here to find out what's really happening in the United States of insurance.
Hello and welcome to the United States of Insurance Part 3. Today I am extremely excited to present an interview I did with Meg McKeen from Adjunct Advisors in Chicago, Illinois. Meg specializes in training new agents, and I think when you actually look into what the landscape of the United States of insurance looks like, you have to be realistic that the challenges that new agents face are extremely high, whether it be financial commitments or lack of knowledge inside the industry. But fortunately, after discussing a lot of things with Meg, I think you'll find out that not only is she very well versed in the industry, positive about what can happen, but she can also make a huge impact on the early stages in your career. So to get things started, I asked Meg what she thought was an overlooked but positive aspect of a career in insurance. Here's what she had to say.
So I think the thing that we always have to overcome as insurance salespeople is the sales part. Selling is how we get paid, right? So we earn a commission based on selling a product or charging a fee. But there's so much work and exploration that goes into the process before we get to that point. So selling can be a natural detractor. I don't want to sell. Just a little personal anecdote. I said when I was graduating from college and interviewing for jobs that I didn't want to sell insurance. And here I am selling it and also advocating that others sell it. So go figure. But I think it's been an exploration for me of finding my voice. And that's what I encourage other agents that are starting out. Find the style, find the clients, find the environment that works for you so that you can be comfortable in solving the problems that are presented to you. And that's really what selling insurance is, right? Somebody's got a need, they've got something of value that they want to protect, whether you're in the business insurance space like I am, or personal, or doing something on the life and health side. There's something at stake that's valuable, and if it's lost, will cause some sort of financial pain or personal pain, and that's what we're trying to uncover and then solve. So that's really that. There's a huge consultative curiosity that we have as professionals in the business.
So I wanted to jump in because if you're somebody that's watching along because you're considering a career in insurance, it's really, really important to pay attention to what Meg just said there. I think we get lost a lot of times in thinking that they're always just trying to sell you something. I can promise you, when you're working with the right advisor, those are the types of comments you're going to hear. I'm walking through this because I'm interested in you, because I want to find out what helps you, what protects you, and what makes a difference in your life. So again, that's the type of stuff that I'm uncovering as I dive into this industry even deeper. So let's keep going, talking to Meg about the positive parts of the insurance industry.
I mean, it really is that simple. I don't look at what I do as going out and, again, selling insurance policies. I'm going out and connecting with people, particularly business owners, but people that have early stage businesses, likely bootstrapped or in the early rounds of financing. And they've got a lot of questions. They've got a lot of, maybe they're starting a small business for the first time, and there's a certain amount of fear and anxiety that goes along with that. And I really look at myself as a resource to help them solve this insurance piece, which inevitably turns into, hey, do you know a small business attorney? Do you know an accountant? Can you help me with my business plan? Can you, it's led to sort of an all-encompassing conversation, which I love. Who am I kidding?
I would completely echo those comments that Meg just made as well. One of the most enjoyable parts of my job is getting to interact with different people from different walks of life doing different things every day. I want to dispel a lot of myths about the industry as part of the United States of insurance. And so I asked Meg if she could share with me what her day looks like, because it's not just sitting behind a computer screen or cold calling people to try to make a sale. There's a lot of really fun, interactive things that go on, and you get to meet a lot of great people.
I am out and about nearly every day in the community. I'm local in Chicago. There's a lot going on for new businesses, particularly women in business. And I am inspired by them every day. And so the coolest thing for me is to make a new connection, be helpful, be valuable, and then build a connection beyond the insurance transaction. I mean, it's been my network as a term has expanded into great friendships and relationships from there. So yeah, I've always viewed the work I do to be a lifestyle. It's not a job, a job, as I like to say. I don't clock in at 9 and leave at 5 because I love what I do. And once you find kind of where you fit, and like I said initially, a style that works for you, mine is heavy education, heavy information, and much of a low pressure sale, giving all the choice back to the buyer to make an informed decision works for me.
After covering a lot of the positive aspects of the industry, I think it's only fair that we dive into the spots where the industry could do better. So my next question to Meg was, what are some of the hard parts about working in the insurance industry, and how can we adjust that so that we can create more successful people? Here's what she had to say.
It's tough. So the business that I've built, the consulting work that I do, is largely training and developing new to industry salespeople. So interestingly, though, the number one sort of objection that I get when I'm meeting with an agency principal about those services is, hey, Meg, it's really great that you want to train and develop people, but we don't have the people to begin with. And I'd like to say that it's something that's come up just in my time here with Adjunct Advisors, but it's a 20-year-old conversation that whether I was a carrier rep calling on agencies or an agent myself, I heard this time and time again. We have a need for people, and not just bodies, but quality thinkers and growers and people that really want to thrive in a career in insurance, and it's tough. I think number one is we have to be better ambassadors for the business. So one of the things that I talk about, and it's kind of an old school sales technique, perfect your pitch, right? So I realized looking back on my initial pitch when I was going out and meeting with prospective clients, and hi, I'm Meg, and I work in business insurance, and then I would sort of get quiet and I would almost apologize for it. And I think we wear, as students of the business, this reputation, right or wrong, that so many others have had before us. And I'm not comfortable perpetuating that. It's largely why I'm doing what I'm doing. What we do is exceptionally valuable. It's honorable, it's noble, and it's lucrative. And there is a way to get where you want to go in an authentic and honest way. And that's what I'm coaching, and that's what I'm sharing with those that I work with. So it's interesting how we are changing as buyers, yet so much of our methodology is still super old school. So we sell on price, we sell on service, we sell by talking negatively about the competition, whether it's another agent or a carrier, because of some article that we read or some word on the street that we've picked up. And it's sort of the ugly side of what we do. As consumers, we don't do business with ugly organizations, and I'm oversimplifying, but I am really interested in what does that customer experience really look like when we're selling insurance? Have we really even tapped what that looks like? Brands, we all know why are Apple, iPhone users, rarely do they switch brands, rarely. Why are they standing out in sub-zero temperatures to buy the next generation of phone? I'm not saying anyone's going to stand in line to buy insurance from me. That's a little pie in the sky. But it is really cool when someone thanks me. And rather than checking something off of a to-do list, they really genuinely feel like they have the support that they need to get started. I said initially, at what point do we see the terrible postings on LinkedIn, and do we see the fear and the anxiety that other agents are causing, and all of the noise that's out there perpetuating this reputation we have? When do we say enough is enough, right? Clearly it's the fuel for what I do. I believe, and I say this every time I'm meeting someone new and they ask what I do, I believe the people that buy it and the people that sell it deserve a better experience with insurance. That is the core of what I do. There is no reason for people to be buying from a place of fear, from being backed into a corner, feeling like they have no options. If that is the buying stance, I don't want any part of it.
I asked Meg in the next part if she would share a little bit about her personal journey through the insurance industry to shed some light on her experience.
I think So I think for me, so I made that initial shift after that internship, and I was licensed, and it was a great sort of resume builder. So I'll never forget a recruiting call that I had with the first carrier that I worked with out of college. And the question was, do you want to be in marketing or claims? And I knew enough about the industry to not even know what claims was, but I knew what marketing was. So that's what set me on my path. So then I became an underwriter, and then I was in underwriting leadership, and then I was an agent and an account manager, and sort of all of these different labels and badges that we wear in the industry, and got to the point where I really felt like I no longer fit in those prescribed boxes. And I think that's one of the, again, it's not a fault of the industry, but one of the things that we need to be talking about is all of the different opportunities that exist. We love to say that we're a melting pot of people with different backgrounds and maybe first or second careers before they even find insurance, which is all very true. But what does that look like? What are those positions? The language that we speak as insiders doesn't translate. What is loss control? What is a claims adjuster? What is an underwriter? What is an auditor? People hear auditor, they think IRS. That's not what we do. And I feel like we're not attaching the humanity to the work that we do so that people can become curious and at nothing else with a little interest in learning more. I didn't start out green as the grass, trying to explain general liability when I didn't know what it was. That's been one of the greatest tools in my toolbox, is the fact that I'm a student of the business. I know it. I'm an expert enough. I'm the smartest person in the room most times when I'm talking with a customer about insurance coverage. And that's been a great foundation for me. It doesn't mean that you can't get there more quickly. And that's a huge part of the work that I'm doing with early career producers, is leveraging my technical experience and their curiosity and their drive and their ambition and willingness to grow to help them see success more quickly. But you have to lay the foundation. It doesn't happen overnight. I didn't wake up after 5 years and say, hey, I think I'm going to start my own business. It took a lot of experience, a lot of courage, a lot of planning, both financially and in the long run, to figure out how I was going to pull this off. So trust me, it's not for the faint of heart, but it is possible. And I think that's been my greatest reward on this journey, is that if you'd asked me 20 years ago, did I think at this stage of my career that I would be starting my own company, I would say, I don't see how I could. I don't see where that could possibly fit in this industry that seems to have us all kind of boxed in. And I know you can relate, you've done the same thing. Well, it was Valentine's Day for Insurance Careers Month, and I talked a little bit about my career journey and more about the story within the story. And that is that, yes, I'm building a business, but I'm also on this very personal journey at the same time, and frankly have been throughout my career. So Adjunct Advisors was born after, I like to use the word pause, some might call it a sabbatical, in my professional journey. I was in a job, I was compensated well, I was good at what I was doing, but I was just showing up. I was kind of, I just emotionally wasn't there, and made a plan to take a little bit of a breather and really reevaluate what was next for me career-wise. So I'm at the halfway point at 20 years, I hope, if I play my cards right. And thought about leaving the industry, frankly, thought about taking a sharp left turn. I have a background in sociology and have always enjoyed the humanity of what we do rather than the numbers. It's just the way I work. If anybody that's ever worked with me would say, is she a spreadsheet gal or a relationship gal? I was always on the relationship side. So thought about abandoning altogether, and then realized there's something here, that the disappointment, I guess, or the frustration that I had felt that was the impetus for taking that break, was the reason that I needed to circle back and really dig in. And so gave myself some time, took a lot of naps, did a lot of yoga, traveled, kind of got right with myself, and then came back around and said, all right, what does this look like? What is this problem I want to solve, and how am I going to do it? And I started looking at traditional jobs. I started reaching out to my network to see what was out there, and realized pretty quickly that while what I'm doing is not radical, there wasn't necessarily a position that existed that would allow me to explore that and to create some new methodology and framework around training and development. So that's where Adjunct Advisors came in. So I hung the shingle, so to speak, and the goal, the core of the work that I do is providing outsourced services for small to mid-size agencies, both independent and captive, really plugging in to train new producers when resources in the agency don't exist to do that. And resources could be budget, could be they don't have access to capital to hire someone full-time. Maybe there's not a need for someone full-time. Maybe there's not an interest. Maybe you don't want to take your top tier salesperson off the floor, so to speak, and put them in a training or mentorship role. Or maybe you're taking a shot on someone who's early to the industry and you're just not sure if they're going to work out. So you don't want to take time and resources away from the agency that could be dedicated elsewhere. And lastly, often training and development falls on the shoulders of the agency principal. And we're all being naive if we think that agency principals have extra time to be doing anything. So it's a great solution in terms of heavy one-on-one coaching. The program is built with 10 sessions per month in mind. They're intended to be virtual, but here in Chicago can certainly be done one-on-one at an agency's office, at a coffee shop, or in front of a client or a prospect, which is cool. So the learning that we're doing is not hypothetical. It's not, hey, let's talk about ice cream shops if you've really decided that you want to grow your business in construction, because the two speak very different languages. And as buyers, they're motivated very differently. And so we're talking about contractors. If that's where you are, if that's where you spend your time, then that's where we're going to spend the effort to get more comfortable working with those buyers. So it's a very kind of plug and play. If we sign on for 6 months and your producer doesn't last, and at the end of 3 months he's out or she's out, then I'm out, and that's okay. No harm, no foul. This isn't meant to be a huge commitment, but rather a resource to help encourage agencies to bring in new talent. We need them. We need them. Have I said that enough? We need them. And with that, it's led to some interesting opportunities for me to facilitate some workshops. So I was just out east earlier this month facilitating a half-day sort of modern sales training workshop for a group of very mixed demographic producers. That was fun. I'm taking that programming on the road this spring, hopefully down in the Southeast. So there's been some speaking opportunities that have come about, which is something I'm very much interested in exploring in 2019. The program that I've built is very localized here in Chicago, but the content is limitless. It's really, there is no territory or no boundary where what we're talking about isn't relevant. So I leverage experience here in Chicago because that's where I've cut my teeth and that's where my network is strongest, but it certainly translates.
So when people approach me about a career in the insurance industry, I tend to point them directly to Meg for the reasons that you just saw there. As we began to wrap up the interview, I asked Meg if she had any final thoughts regarding the future of the insurance industry.
Is that so much of what we see is acknowledging the problem, but without solutions attached. So during that time of self-exploration, if you will, I was reading all this industry press and material that's coming out, and we're talking about the gray wave and the gray tsunami and all the mass retirements, and that's all true. Statistically, we know it's happening, and I was expecting to see 17 solutions linked to those articles, and I saw nothing. It was like, hey, we know the big one's coming, and instead of going and getting supplies and building we're just hunkering down. We're just waiting for it to happen. And as an industry, the time is too great to miss this opportunity. There is such an opportunity for people to join the industry, not because of the negativity of losing all that talent, but because you're leaving millions of potential opportunities on the table when that knowledge and that experience is out the door. And it's no disrespect to that segment of the working population, but it's a huge opportunity. And I am a firm believer, I have shared this previously, but I sit squarely between the millennial and the Gen X generations. I was born in this weird 5-year period we're called the Xennials. So I didn't grow up with technology, but I had email in college and in my first job. So I very much appreciate where technology fits. And I love to see where technology is being leveraged and will take us as an industry. But there is absolutely, without a doubt, still, and in my opinion, forever will be a place for the agent at the table. Technology is great and should be leveraged to create efficiencies and connection, and people that aren't leveraging social media to get out in front of their customers while they're letting their competition do it are really missing the boat right now. But at the end of the day, this is still a relationship business. And I might not be popular when I say that, but I believe it and I've seen it. That has not changed in 20 years. We went from hand rating property coverage 20 years ago to doing things on downloading rating platforms from a disc, and now it's all online. That's all changed. But at the end of the day, somebody still needs somebody to call when they're in crisis, and that is not.
That's going to wrap up part 3 of the United States of Insurance and my interview with Meg McKeen. Some things that I consider after I think back on my interview with Meg primarily revolve around being proud of what you do as an insurance professional, recognizing that there's a huge opportunity in the industry right now, and more importantly, to recognize that there's so many different ways that you can work in this great industry. So for now, I'm Pat West, and I'll catch you next time as I continue to find out what's really happening in the United States of Insurance.